What is up, citizens, and welcome back to the City Daily channel. Not said that for a while, and I am so sorry about that. The world started reopening, I started doing loads of stuff again, and it was very exciting for a bit. But I'm back, and I promise I'll be back doing some regular stuff for you guys. So sorry about the big gap. But there have been bigger things going on, and the biggest thing going on over the last while has obviously been the Euros. The battle to be the champion of Europe has been raging on an international level, not club level. We won't talk about it at club level. Nothing ever happened there. I don't know what you're on about. Don't know what the Champions League even is, mate. Euros, though, do you know what they are? And it's a weird question, really, to ask about how City are doing at the Euros. I know. I'm a firm believer in the fact that international tournaments are not a good way to judge a player. I mean, look at Harry Maguire. He's awful now. Well, awful's probably a bad way of putting it, but he's definitely nowhere near as good as he was for England at the World Cup. Now that he's at United, he doesn't put in the same effort and things, and it's very different because the international tournament brings out a very different side of a player. It invokes maybe a little bit more pride, a little bit more drive. So international tournaments are a bad judge of a player as to whether or not they're any good. But it never hurts to do a little bit of scouting. So let's look at our newest wonder boy and his buddies over in Portugal. Obviously, sadly knocked out of the round of 16. But Diaz, Bernardo and Cancelo, they looked pretty good. I mean, none of them covered themselves in glory. Let's be honest. You didn't look at any of them and go, wow, that's the next best star in the world. But I think Diaz looked the obvious captaincy choice after Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo has said that, I can't remember if it was this Euros or the World Cup, that he said he was going to stop playing international tournaments. But in terms of rebuilding the national squad, I think Diaz is the obvious captaincy choice there. Bernardo tried his damnedest to score at every opportunity he could. And obviously he kept Bruno Fernandes off the pitch. So there's got to be something to be said for him there. And Cancelo, on the other hand, well, he had an iffy end to the season and had to withdraw due to a case of COVID-19, which is a shame, really. So he didn't get to show off at the tournament. But I don't think he necessarily would have brought all that much more to the Portuguese side, to be honest. Maybe a little bit more creativity, maybe a little bit more driving forwards, but I think they had that anyway. I don't think he was bringing anything particularly new and fresh to that squad that they were crying out for. Makes sense then to move just across the border and to look into Spain. Big news here really is that Laporte's there now. Aymeric Laporte obviously now plays for Spain, having swapped his nationality after being just ignored for some reason by Didier Deschamps. And to be honest, he looked really good, all things considered. Paired with Eric Garcia at the back, they looked relatively solid. And he had a goal to boot as well. A good tournament, I'd say, overall from Laporte. Something which said before the Croatia game, I was made to look a little bit of a mug. But hey-ho. Rodri and Ferran Torres obviously also in that Spanish squad. Again, both looked pretty strong, no bright shining moments. Ferran Torres got a goal. But, I mean, Torres just looks great. Torres just looks great all the time. And I think the fact that he can go into this tournament and continue the good run of form that he had towards the end of the season, I mean, that's fantastic. And I think he definitely has to be a shout to be starting at the beginning of next season, especially after that Newcastle performance. That Newcastle performance was, it was sublime. I remember watching it in my mate's flat in the centre of Manchester, sat in front of the telly, and we were just going, this Newcastle game is going to be boring. It's going to be boring. We've not got the right squad on. It's going to be boring. Were we wrong? That game was brilliant. Lovely little hat-trick from Ferran Torres. Let's quickly zip through some of the other squads. Our beloved Mr. Whippy Gundogan, obviously at Germany, consistently just there. Consistently good enough, pretty good, showing off and being that clock, just running things at that midfield, making sure the game ticked over. I think he was pretty good this tournament. Nothing bright and shiny, nothing crushing low. Overall, all right, fair enough, we'll take it. International tournament. Just sort of round the corner, I guess, in the Ukraine, Zinchenko obviously led his squad to another international tournament. I think they did pretty well through to the last 16, managing to get to quarters where we beat them 4-0. It was a shame to see him go, obviously, but had to be done. It was England. England obviously takes precedent. And then let's quickly look at the other round the corner, the Netherlands. Well, actually, I'm a little bit disappointed. I think Nathan Ake could have done more during this tournament. I was expecting to see more of him, especially with VVD being out. I thought he would have been the man next to Daley Blind. But, I mean, just seeing the 2 games out of him and then knocked out the tournament. Bit of a poor showing, I think, but not his fault. He wasn't allowed on the pitch that much. So really, I'd put that down to the manager more than anything else. Okay. Let's look at the big hitters and start with the obvious one, Belgium, and our talisman, our wunderkind, the beautiful Kevin De Bruyne. Oh my God, he's so good, proving once again this tournament why he is the best midfielder in the world. He took a squad full of talent, the golden generation of Belgian football, and he took it to somewhere it just doesn't deserve to be. It was beautiful watching him play. They looked so limp and lifeless, especially there was one group game in particular, and I can't remember who they were playing, but there was one group game in particular, right? It's so limp, it's so lifeless, it's so boring and quiet and dull, and they're just moving the ball around, hoping, wishing that something would happen. And then he comes on. Roberto Martinez finally brings him onto the pitch at the beginning of the second half. And it's a completely different side. They're attacking. They're trying. They want the ball. They're fighting for everything. And every time they get the ball, it goes through KDB. It moves. It goes somewhere else on the pitch. Someone does something new and exciting with it every time. And that is the KDB effect. He inspires not just players immediately around him to have a bit more confidence in themselves. He inspires the rest of the team to take risks that they otherwise wouldn't, because he's there. He's there and he can play that ball with that risky run, or he can play that ball and make up the difference if it doesn't quite get pulled off. And he is just magical. Now, obviously, he had to come off injured midway through the tournament. Doesn't look necessarily great. It's horrible news to have to start thinking about this, but do we need to start thinking about the what if question with KDB and his lingering injuries? They're just becoming slightly more frequent and slightly more crucial in terms of how he plays. It's an issue. Now, on the topic of Belgium, I'm just going to do a little bit of looking at one of our transfer targets now. Obviously, our touted potential transfer is Romelu Lukaku, and he was terrifying for defences this tournament. He just does this beautiful curving run every time. It starts out almost from like a left wing or a right wing position, or just sort of carrying in during that third. And he curves it beautifully back to the centre of the box. And paired with KDB's ability to just pass a ball, it was beautiful. And he's got 4 goals to show out of it at the tournament. He's done really well, I think. And maybe I'm turning towards her. Actually, I wouldn't mind him, point of view. Although he's obviously quite settled at Inter Milan. He's quite happy there. So let's let sleeping dogs lie. And finally, the biggest hitter of them all, obviously, the England squad. We have so much talent to talk about in that squad. We're so privileged with the amount of talent that comes from City. And I just want to say this now. I know this is during the England segment, but around City, Manchester City sent the most players to the tournament out of any team in the world. We sent the most amount of talent to the tournament out of any team in the world. That is how good Manchester City is. Some of our second teamers were getting picked in squads. That's how good we are. That's the depth of our squad. But I'm here to talk about England. Sorry. So let's quickly jump back into that and look at our squad. So we'll start from the back of the pitch and we'll move forwards. Looking at, honestly, I think two of the brightest shining stars in the England squad right now, Kyle Walker and John Stones. That beautiful partnership that they had at sort of right back, right centre back was gorgeous. John Stones' ability to be at the back line, be a strong force there, and to be able to drive through slightly and carry the ball into the midfield to play a spreading pass, or to just be able to move the ball sideways and keep it in possession, was integral to the way that Southgate wanted us to play, and he did a fantastic job of that. Kyle Walker, also integral to the way Southgate plays. Not only can he do a marauding run down the wings should he need to, he has excellent ball playing ability and was using that to full fruition, but his biggest and obviously the most important part of his game right now is his pace. The man just sprints everywhere and he was doing it real well for England. Whenever someone was caught slightly lacking, Maguire, he was there. He was making up that run and he was doing it every single time. He stopped probably easily 3 or 4 goals. And between them and obviously with the rest of the English back line, they've come away with 5 clean sheets in 7 games. We only conceded in the semi-final and the final. And I don't think we deserved to concede in the final. We didn't deserve to concede in the semi-final. It wasn't an actual free kick. Moving of the pitch slightly sort of towards that midfield as to sort of the wings. Phil Foden. Oh, Lord. That boy looked mesmeric at the beginning of the tournament. I just wish Southgate had confidence in him and allowed him to play football. There was something lacking from England a lot of the time, and it was pace, it was power, and it was the ability to carry a ball into the box. That's what we were missing, and that's what Phil Foden offers. So I don't get why he was left out, and I'm upset about that. But he looked good. He looked really good. And every time he was on the ball, it looked like he could do something with it. I'm upset he didn't get his opportunity to be the classic Gascoigne. But these things happen. He's got time. He's got loads of it. Also, Raheem Sterling, obviously great goal scorer for England. He's scored, 3 in 7. Looking renewed and confident with England, which I hope to God he carries this through into the league, because obviously he's been a bit this season. He's not looked particularly strong at any one point. Still good, but not amazing like he has been. I still think Sterling had spaces to improve. His confidence on the ball still looks a little bit lacking. His confidence in terms of finding that final run and finding the place to pick the ball up to finally take that shot. There's little things that he could improve there. But I think that's just because he's had a bit of a weird season. Everyone's had a weird time this year. Players that we don't normally see have shone, and players that we normally see shine have been a bit dull. So we've got to get over it. And I just hope Sterling comes back with the confidence that he deserves when he finally comes back to the City squad. Now, again, we've got a couple of transfer snifters in the England squad. The main man, Harry Kane, started feebly, I think, in the tournament this year. But he was sort of dropping back, like a target man. But he never actually received the ball to feet. And it was a weird one. He was definitely being better in the league, but managed to finish the tournament so strong. Ended up as England's top scorer with 4. And honestly, towards the end of the tournament, he did look a lot like the leader and the powerhouse there. So good on him, and I'd happily take him. 120 is maybe a bit much for a player, 27 years old, but I mean, we need a striker. We need one. He's a proven goal scorer, not just generally proven goal scorer, but proven goal scorer in the Premier League against big teams consistently. I mean, take it. Just take it. If it costs 100 million, it costs 100 million. We need it if we want to keep fighting for titles and we want to improve and finally win one of these European Championships everyone keeps talking about. I don't know what they are. Like I said at the beginning of the video, no idea what this Champions League thing is. God damn. That was depressing. That was real depressing. The other transfer snifter, obviously in the England squad, the big one, the one that we're touted to apparently have already bought, 88 million apparently, Jack Grealish. And, where's, to be honest, I'm a little bit annoyed with Southgate. Don't get me wrong, I am hugely proud of this England squad and Gareth Southgate. The amount of times I've chanted his name is part of the reason behind why my voice feels a little bit croaky and I probably sound weird. Because I've just chanted his name so much, especially Sunday evening. But I just wish he'd trust the youth a little bit more. And he looked so strong whenever he's played. He did his usual game. He didn't change anything for England. What he did was the same job he does at Aston Villa. And I assume the same job that he'd do at City if he was to come and play for us. Draws fouls, breaks lines, and just moves the ball consistently. He takes it down to the left channel, always has an option to his left, out on the wide wing, or can bring it into the centre. You don't know which he's going to do. Or, because I've seen him do it before, he'll just have a shot from the edge of the box and score a beautiful curler into the top corner. He is so good at football. Why is he not playing in the England squad? And it was upsetting. It was a little bit upsetting to see that he wasn't trusted. But he's obviously not a City man yet, so I don't massively care. But if he becomes a City man over the end of the summer, I suddenly care a lot more. Now, obviously, the Euros are now over. We didn't win, England didn't win, and then football did not come home, which is depressing and slightly upsetting. However, these things happen, and we just need to look and grow and continue to move forward. I think Southgate's done an excellent thing with the England squad, and I think overall this year's Euros, while being a weird tournament, and while being an experiment of the new way that they wanted the layout to work, it's not going to work like this again. I think they've said that already, that they don't want it spanning over all these cities across Europe, because it was unfair on certain teams. I mean, England played 6 of our 7 games in Wembley. 6. Meanwhile, Wales, I think, had to travel, 1,200 miles or something ridiculous between, on a space of like 3 or 4 days, between 2 different games. And it's just unfair. It is unfair at the end of the day. They do need to select a small area to host the tournament. But we did really well. And England did really well out of it. And we can't say no to the success. Picking up a silver medal is better than picking up nothing at the end of the day. Obviously, the Euros are now over. Football did not come home. Southgate and the England squad are, though, and they're getting ready for the next season ahead, and we're all very excited for that. There was so much talent on show as well, from the Damsgaard from Denmark, Forsberg at Sweden, with his little curling runs, finding a little bit of space, popping it off into the corner. He's very good in front of a goalkeeper. Very good one-on-one is Emil Forsberg. Very good. And of course, the magical little Pedri, the young player of the tournament from Spain. Oh, watching him play football's like, well, it's like watching a very young David Silva. Honestly, the man can do anything. But my question for you is, who did you have your eyes on? Did you spot anyone in particular that you quite liked at the tournament? Did you see anyone that you think would fit beautifully into City's squad and into the way that Pep Guardiola plays? If you did, let me know down below, because obviously we want to know, we want to talk about them, and we want to see what they're like. So let me know. Thank you so much, citizens. Thank you for coming back if you have come back, and thank you for joining if you have joined. Again, apologies for the big break, but there was some sort of, tournament and the world opening up, and there was a lot of alcohol involved, and I'm really sorry about that, but it happened. So we move. We go on. We go again. Thank you for watching the City Daily channel. I've been Kieran. Remember to drop a like if you enjoyed, drop a subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll catch you next time. Oh wait, up the Blues!